Hi, I'm Rabbi Feivel Rubenstein, founder and executive director for Freelance Judaism. Our sages teach us that when the Jewish month of Adar begins, everyone gets a little bit happier, in part because we know that the holiday of Purim is right around the corner. Purim commemorates the story of Esther, reminding the Jewish people of our survival from those that sought to kill us, and on this joyous occasion, we read from the Megillah, the scroll of Esther. Reading from the Megillah itself is an incredibly rewarding and deeply meaningful experience. There's nothing better than having a bunch of different people from the community share in this experience every year. The problem is, well, learning to read from the Megillah is hard. Not only is it in Hebrew, but it's in a difficult handwritten font without any vowels or markings that help you know how to read the words or sing the melody. In fact, if you live in one of the many small congregations around the country, like I do here in Shreveport, Louisiana, you may only find one person who's trained for the job, if you're lucky. This is where you come in. We need your support to help us fund a version of the Megillah that is much more accessible to the community, but still abides by all the Jewish laws of making a scroll of Esther, which is fit for ritual use on Purim. We've commissioned Soferet, Jewish scribe and educator Julie Seltzer to write a fully kosher Megillat Esther with tropes and vowels. I am so fortunate to be sitting here on Zoom with Julie, who can tell you a little bit more about the project and herself. Julie, thank you so much for being here. Tell us, how long have you been a scribe, and why did you choose to become a scribe in the first place?
Well, let's see. I started learning in the winter of 2008. So about 13 years I've been really engaged in this practice. And the idea to learn actually came to me in one moment of, it was like a light bulb moment. I was in Israel on a visit. I was walking down the street, and all of a sudden I just had this thought: I want to learn how to write the letters the way they're written in the Torah scroll. First of all, I love Hebrew. I just love Hebrew. I love the language. I love the letters. I love everything about it. And then I also love Jewish ritual and practice. And something else was going on at this time in my life, which is that my mother was diagnosed with late stage cancer. And I think I turned to Sofrut in part because it demands like a quiet and focus and attention on a very kind of contained thing that I could put my attention on. And also because in the face of mortality, I had a desire to connect with something bigger than my own little life, and to connect to a chain of cultural transmission, if we can call it that, that goes far into the past and hopefully will go far into the future.
So if you began this journey on a little bit of a whim, why do you keep doing it? What do you enjoy about the process today?
I think that honestly, what I most enjoy now is sharing what I know. So talking to communities, talking to people, it's a very esoteric practice in a way, and maybe because of that, or despite that, people tend to be pretty interested in the process, and I love being able to share the minutia of how this is done. And especially, so much of our lives are mechanized and digitized. There's a real interest in learning about something that is an analog ancient craft, a form of writing that's still done by hand. I don't know many people, I mean, including myself, that write anything by hand anymore. Maybe not even a grocery list anymore. And the idea that we would spend so much time and effort to write these texts out by hand, when in fact there are other ways. We've had other ways for a very long time to produce them, and yet we maintain this tradition of writing the texts out by hand.
You mentioned tradition, which is and always has been so important to Jewish life. This Megillah, of course, is a bit unique and a little different from what you normally do. So why are you excited to take on this specific project?
Well, the truth is, part of why I wanted to do this project was to get to work with you, Rabbi Feibel. We met at a rabbinical conference in 2019, and I was there with a colleague tabling. And I don't know how much you remember of this, but we had a very spirited conversation about the possibility of appointed Megillah and all of the halachic questions around it. And no one had ever asked me about this. And so it was all new. And as you hinted at in your previous question, so what keeps you interested in this 13 years later, and you're copying the same texts again and again? Well, part of it is that sometimes there are these small new and different and unique and challenging opportunities that present themselves, which I appreciate. I like to cultivate relationships with the people that contract me, commission me, and I like having a sense of the community that will use it and hopefully benefit from it for many years to come.
Wow. Julie, I am so honored. Now, before I let you go, can you tell everyone watching today why they should support this project?
Well, I think you should consider, whoever's watching should consider funding this project because, frankly, in general, scribes are underpaid to such an extent that there are fewer and fewer people going into this work, and there are more leaving simply because it just isn't sustainable. And scribes can't generally support themselves with scribal work. This Megillah is commissioned at a fair wage, and that is very unusual. And not to sound too dramatic about it, but if we as a larger community want to see the scribal tradition continue into the future, we need to better financially support scribes in a very basic way. And more specifically to this project, and why you should consider funding this project is because it is unusual. It's not typically done. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a Megillah actually with vowels and trope signs. And I really respect, Rabbi Feibel, your initiative around this and your project to make Judaism and its ritual objects more accessible to people in all kinds of communities and people with all kinds of backgrounds, and to be able to chant the Megillah on Purim, which is kind of the point of having the Megillah scroll. So I appreciate any of you out there who are considering funding this project. So thank you.
Julie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and for agreeing to work on this project. As Julie brought up, this project is so much more than just a scroll to be used once a year. It's an opportunity to support the scribal community, particularly the underrepresented female scribal community, and the chance to put something into the world that can inspire Jewish learning and participation throughout the year. At Freelance Judaism, it is our hope that this Megillah will not only help the local community, but also serve as an educational tool, with high-resolution scans being offered to other students and communities around the world, and a source of inspiration for more communities to commission a scroll of their own. Please take a moment to hit one of the donation buttons below and take home a piece of the project through our backer rewards. Any amount helps, and we thank you for helping make Purim and the month of Adar more joyous for us all.